Hello, everybody. I see, so I just started, so we've got some people coming in. This is, let me share this really quick. Screen 2. So we are doing SCORE, simple steps for starting your business. I'm going to give it just a minute, let some people make sure they're logging in. This is a webinar format, so there's not a lot of talking back and forth, but we do have a Q&A. So if you type into the Q&A, you can ask questions and I can answer them here live as we're talking, as I'm going through it. The chat is just the chat. So that's where you can kind of talk, we can discuss things. But if you have a question, get into that Q&A box, and that way I can separate the questions from the comments and the chats. So let's see if everyone's in there. Let's see. And if you would, just so I'm not talking to myself, let me know that you can hear me, you can see me. That's the weirdest thing about a webinar is I can't see everybody live. I can just see that there's some people in there. So if you would, go ahead and get into that chat. There you go. Thank you. Thank you. Okay, so the basics for this class. I'm going to go ahead and get started because I love being on time. That's what I love to do. This is going to be different. So if you've attended one of these before for some reason, I have changed this one up. There's definitely some differences, and I'm going to hopefully give you more than what this original class is for. So let's go ahead and kind of talk about what this class was originally designed for. We're looking for people, well, okay, SCORE itself. Not sure how you got the information for this class. SCORE is a nonprofit organization, so it's all volunteers. We volunteer our time to help other business owners or people that want to be business owners better their business. So it's 100% free for you, and we do things like one-on-one mentoring. And to be honest with you, the one-on-one mentoring is probably one of the best things you can do. And we're gonna go through this class, but there is a lot of information. I hope you take a lot from it. But really, the purpose of this class is going to give you questions just as much as it gives you answers. And it's going to give you the questions that you can go to your mentor and talk one-on-one about your specific situation and help get you from point A to point B. Not just the answer to a question, but really the solution to a problem that you may have. So one-on-one mentoring, they do phone calls, they do emails, we do Zoom calls. We also do classes. So SCORE is regularly doing live and virtual and recorded classes for you, people like you, on different subjects. We're going to hit a couple of them here today. We're going to talk about some marketing. We're going to talk about legal entities. We're going to talk about business plans. And there are some classes that are specifically on these items. So if it doesn't answer all of your questions, there will be other classes that we can get to. And there's other ways to get that information, such as on the website. So if you see here, charlotte.score.org is a great resource when you come up with questions other than obviously what you asked me, which is great. But anything that goes further than what we talk about today, charlotte.score.org is an absolute awesome resource for you to go to and get that information. So SCORE has one-on-one mentoring that covers, this is a roadmap for this type of course. This is the very beginning. This is the startup basics. And then each level after this, session 2, session 3, session 4, that's sort of what I was telling you about, how there's more information than I could possibly fit into one class. But this class is really designed to kind of hit all of these. And I want you to feel free to ask me questions. It is completely okay. And if it goes beyond what I think everyone else can benefit from, I'll say, either A, I don't know, or B, that's for another time. But I'm here to answer your questions on these subjects just as much as I am here to teach these subjects. So, are you ready? I don't know why that slide is there. Okay, I'm jumping into it. That's good. That's about 5 minutes of kind of a warm-up. We talked about the benefits that you're going to get from this workshop. We talked about we're going to hit myths and realities. I know there's some confusion as to what is business ownership really. These will not be in this order, by the way. I've changed it up a bit. We've got critical success factors, like what does it actually take to be successful in business? What are your options? A lot of people think that starting a business means just that, starting. And that's not always the case. Components of business ownership, there's a lot of different levels. I know that when I started my business, Definitely didn't realize how deep and how complicated, how many different facets of running a business there are. We're going to talk about making it legal through entities and structures and what those structures mean. I'm sure you've all heard, get an LLC, blah, blah, blah. What does that even mean? What is an S Corp? What is all that stuff? We're going to hit that on the second half. We're going to talk about business plans. Really, like, what is it? And how do you start it? And why do you use it? And do I need it? That's really the topic, because business plans can go a whole lot deeper than that. And then we can hit a self-assessment there at the end. We can kind of decide whether or not the purpose here is to kind of help you think through some of the elements of what it takes to start a business, to ask me the questions that you have in the moment, but also to start answering some of your own questions that says, is this something that I can and should be doing? We're going to talk through some decision-making processes if you're on that fence. Ultimately, what SCORE tries to do first with these classes is help you with a go, no-go. Is it a viable working business that with work can actually be started, implemented, and become successful? That's what you and your mentor and me, and we're all here to help decide, is a business the right choice, and how do I do it? We're going to talk about, it says the core, we're going to hit the business plan, but really about what is it? Everybody's business plan is going to be different because every type of business is different. We'll hit it later. Okay. And then give you some directions. That's what we're hitting. So to start off with, and I think this is important, maybe you know it, maybe you don't. Well, hold on. Let me back up. It doesn't say my name on here. My name is Brett Clues. I work with SCORE. I work pretty much with the different parts of the state. I'm in the Greensboro area, but I do these virtual classes, and that's one of my favorite things to do, is to teach the information. I've been in business for over 20 years. I've had multiple businesses, multiple corporations, entities. I've had over 100 employees at any given time, and I focus primarily on small business. That's what I did, and I was the guy that did all the little stuff. So I did kind of my own bookkeeping. I did my own tax planning, accounting. I did my own marketing. I did my own virtual design, or my own marketing designs. So I had a lot of that, you got to do everything yourself kind of mentality, and that's where I focus on. But SCORE has different mentors for all different sorts of business types. So while I have a lot of this basic information, and I'm here to help you, if you were, let's say, doing a nonprofit, then we're going to talk a little bit about a nonprofit, but that's something that you find a SCORE mentor for, and kind of work yourself forward from there. Okay, so myth number one, as an entrepreneur, you won't have to work that hard to put in such long hours. That is a myth. Okay, I like to talk to people. Let's see if I can do this. Stop. There we go. You should be able to see me now. A lot of people think that if I own my own business, I don't have to work as hard, that my boss is hard on me, I have to work these long hours. The truth is, especially when you're starting something new, that learning curve can be a lot of hours, not just in the business. So let's say you've been doing this for years and you're like, I'm really good at it. There's going to be a lot of parts of the business that we'll hit today that you're going to have to learn one by one. And each time you learn something new, it's going to take a lot of hours for you to start figuring out how it works, whether it be researching or YouTube or reading or library or your mentor. There are a lot more hours because you can't walk away from your business once it gets up and running. So number two, my product is unique and there is no competition. Well, there's two things that can happen here. Number one, you're right. You are so unique. Nobody has started and you have a great edge. But most of the time, there either already is competition or nobody wants it. And so your uniqueness may be a downfall. And we're going to talk today about, like, how do you identify that is it a unique venture that's going to be successful, or is it so unique that nobody wants it? And we see that sometimes. We see it where somebody has this idea that nobody really wants to be involved in, but they're super excited that there's not going to be any competition. Myth number three, business owners can deduct everything and not pay any taxes. Not exactly. And I'm sure you know that, and you're like, well, maybe a deduction on your taxes is just a deduction on the amount of income you have to pay taxes on. You're still paying for the product that you're buying, and you're still paying taxes quite a bit. So while there is value to owning a business versus not, because there are things you can write off, it doesn't necessarily make it any better. So we don't want to get into that idea. And if people try to cheat the system, then you're opening yourself up to IRS audits. You open yourself up to quite a bit of scrutiny from the government, which can make it more expensive than any of the money you thought you saved. As a business, you won't have your own, you won't have a boss in a way that's right. There's no one necessarily telling you what to do every day, except your customers, except your clients, except the people that you have to serve in order to continue making money. The other thing is, let's say you don't have a lot of influence coming from a top, like a customer or a client, you have to force yourself. And this is where some people struggle, because all of a sudden you have to decide to get out of bed in the morning. You have to decide to put in the extra work, to stay the extra hour, to do the extra thing needed to make or break whether or not your business is successful. So while, yeah, it may seem like you don't have a boss, it's that much more important that you're self-disciplined and self-motivated to get things done. And number 5, business owners get to do whatever they want. I mean, that goes without saying. You're going to get to do the job that you want, but there's going to be a whole lot of other things that you may not want to do that are going to be involved in that. And the reason these myths are up here, the reason we want to talk about them is because if you're starting a business because of one of these myths, it's important that you understand the reality of business ownership. There are a lot of moving parts. There's a lot to learn and there's a lot to do. And so if you're strictly doing it because you don't want to work long hours, you don't want to have to pay taxes, you don't want to have a boss, and you want to do whatever you want, you may struggle in owning your own business. Let's see, come over here. So the SBA, along with a couple other, this is the Bureau of Labor Statistics, has determined that after 2 years, 25% of businesses, new businesses, fail. So within 2 years, a quarter of all businesses fail. But the most interesting part is after 5 years, within the first 5 years of opening a business, 50% of all those businesses fail. Now, I'm not saying it to scare anybody, and I don't want to scare anybody. What's important to take away from this is that it's not a gamble. This is not a lottery, and 50% is not your chances of success or failure. These are indicated by, do you know what you're doing? Are you planning properly? People that succeed are more likely to succeed. So you will break this statistic. You will not be a 50% failure rate if you work hard, if you find a mentor, if you learn what you're supposed to learn, if you continue to research and grind on what you're doing. If you go in it willy-nilly with one of those myths in mind, like, oh, I'm going to write everything off for taxes, there's a really good chance that you will be the 50% failure. So it's not random, but it is the statistic that 50% of people fail to plan and properly plan their business. Now, here's a couple other things that are going to affect your being 50% good or 50% bad. Are you going to be the 50% success? These will help dictate whether or not you are. Do you have the education or the experience in the field you're going? Are you an engineer that one day decided you want to buy a restaurant? Do you have education and experience in the field that you're going in? Do you have a strong work ethic? Something that is going to help you get through day to day, no matter what happens. That self-discipline and that drive to get up out of bed in the morning. Do you have the ability to manage and multitask? There will be a lot of things coming at you, and your ability to manage and multitask will help you determine if you're a 50% failure or 50% success. Willing to ask for help and take advice from others. If you are very strong-willed and are fearful that somebody will see you vulnerable and you don't ever ask for help, it will be difficult, not impossible. It will be difficult. And anyone that I know that succeeded without asking for help will give you the advice that says, I wish I would have asked for help. So I will tell you that I did not know anything about SCORE when I started my businesses, and I made a lot of mistakes, as I think many people do. And the advantage of a mentor is they made the mistakes too, and they're there to help you not. And so you absolutely 100% can do this without asking for help. It doesn't make it any easier. And then lastly, adequate capital makes a big difference. There is a learning curve to starting any business. And do you have enough money to make the business successful, to learn to make it successful before you run out of money? And that's going to be part of your business plan. That's going to be what a mentor helps you in your business plan to help figure out the financials of how much is it going to cost. Because just because you open a business doesn't mean it makes money on day one. You may have to learn how to make money. And do you have enough money to learn before you run out? That is your question. Now, in a business plan, we talk about your business financials. We talk about, does the business have enough money to survive and succeed, and how much is it going to cost to start it? But there's a very important consideration that comes first. Your personal financial considerations. Do you have the money to not make any money? So how much is your current cost of living? Are there areas in your personal life that you can cut back expenses so that if your business struggles for a period of time, you do not run out of money too soon and you lose a good business because you didn't have enough money? Do you have outstanding debt that is going to weigh on your ability to get lending if you need it? The amount of money that you currently have in savings, because that can be leveraged or that can be used up as you're trying to get your business up and running and off the ground. The total amount needed to cover 6 to 12 months of expenses. So going back to that 50-50 success rate, if you are going into business with a very small personal emergency fund and something goes wrong in your business and it's not able to make money, you will be that 50%, no matter how good of an idea you had, no matter how good of a plan you had. It will not make it if it hits one small speed bump. And so sometimes in this class, we're teaching the idea of go or no go. Are you prepared? And this might be one of those things that you say, okay, I should save up more, and I'm going to take the next X number of months saving while I learn more about my business before I start it, to make sure that I'm not one of those 50% that fails because I wasn't adequately prepared financially up front. As we talk more about this, you will want to understand, because we're going to talk about some legal stuff. We're going to talk a little bit about some accounting and tax stuff when we get to entities. We're going to talk a little bit about insurance. We're not going to do much with funding, but if you want to consider having a banker, a lawyer, an accountant, an insurance agent, and a mentor. Now, your mentor cannot give you legal advice. They're not going to give you tax advice. They can just tell you what they've learned through experience. And in the case of SCORE, a mentor is free, while the other people tend to have a fee attached to them. And that's okay. If you need insurance, you need insurance. When you go to a bank and need lending, you want to go ahead and have a bank that you're going to go to. And you definitely want to make sure that you consider having a lawyer and the accountant when it comes to the legal and tax information that we're going to give you. So today, I'm not giving you advice because I don't know you. I don't know your personal situations, but I do know how these entities work. But for your specific circumstance, you can go to a mentor to get further information about your circumstance, and then go to a lawyer and accountant with the right questions to ask and the right information. So you're not tying them up for hours that they're billing you, and you can go directly to them. So these are definitely people that you want to know and have in your pocket. So before I get any further, does anyone have any questions? Any questions about what I've hit so far, or that you want to make sure that I hit later as we move on to business plans, which is next? Okay, I am going to go on. I have been told in the past that I don't give enough time for people to get their questions in. So don't feel rushed. You can hit me up at any time and I will stop. Also, if you guys want and you put it in the chat, I can turn everybody to allowed to talk. I can make y'all panelists in here if you want to have conversations as we go. But since I don't have any questions so far, I'm gonna go ahead and move on. We're gonna do business plans. Now, the biggest question I get about business plans is what is it? What is it for? Do I need it? A business plan is that. It is a plan. It is useful more for you than anybody else. And so people that shortchange their business plan thinking, oh, I just want to get into business as fast as I can, they're sacrificing their own benefit. So imagine a house plan. You want to build a house. Do you imagine your house in your head and then start putting the frame down and then start building it? Do you know where to start, what to do first, what to do next? A house has a strategic blueprint, a plan that helps all the builders coordinate together so that your house can be built properly. The business has the same thing. It is put together, pre-planned. What is going to happen when, what needs to happen, how much money, how much time, who the customers are, what the product is, where you're going to get the product. All these things are for you to figure out before you get open. Now, SOAR mentors help a lot with business plans because there's a lot of questions that they can ask you that you didn't think about that will help you go find the answer and put it in your plan so that you're ready. The 50% fail, 15% success is, did you plan properly and did you ask the right questions so that you don't get open and then go, oh no, what was I supposed to do? What was I going to do about this? What was my plan if this happened or if that happened? So successful planning. It's also, so it says here, it's a powerful management tool. Your business plan before you open is a plan. It's an imaginary, this is what I hope to have happen. Once you get open, things may not be exactly as you had planned. And this is a great opportunity for you to make adjustments. You can and will need to make adjustments within your plan because the original plan is just a projection. It's an assumption on the best knowledge that you had when you started. So it's good to have it even after you open so that you can kind of baseline where you're supposed to be. And then in terms of funding, you want to be able to clearly define for yourself so that you know what you're doing, and for anybody that's giving you money, what your business is and how the person getting money is going to get paid back. So business plans become more important in funding because the banks want to see how your business works. And you can't just sit down and tell them. They need to read a plan and just from this plan determine whether or not they think your business is successful or going to be successful or not. Any questions about a business plan yet? I get this one a lot. How long should it be? That is a really good question. I've seen 3- and 4-page business plans that are incredibly effective. It depends on the business. I've seen 30-page plans and you need all 30 pages. I do know that you need 3 to 8 pages just of financial projections. And that's a lot of people, when it comes to financial projections, that's where SOAR mentors really shine. Because what is a P&L? What is an income statement? What is a balance sheet? And these are things that your mentor can kind of guide you through, give you the questions to ask. Because at the end of the day, do you have enough money to start the business? And will the business make enough money? That's where your projections come in. So a business plan is structured with a table of contents, an executive summary. We're going to hit that next. That's who are you? Why are you starting this business? What education, what experience, what do you have going for you that gives you reason to start this business? Then it's going to talk about the business, which is kind of all of it together. What are you selling? What's the product? What's the marketing? What's the branding? Who are you going to sell it to? How much is it going to cost? Where are you going to get it from? That's the whole business. Like that's the whole picture that tells the bank what is it. And then the financials is projections that you think of how much is this going to cost? How much is it going to, how much am I going to make? How much will it cost to start? What if my product price changes? How many products do I need to sell? Or how much of the service do I need to sell to break even? That's where your financials come in. And then section 3 would ideally be, where do you get this information? So in terms of a bank, they don't believe you. Oh, my business is going to make $1 million next year because I said so. The supporting data is what you usually pull from the library or other resources that you found that show how much your product can cost and who the customer is that's going to buy it and why you think your business is going to make this amount of money. And it's actually, I believe, I don't see her on here, but I believe we're going to have the library come on and give a presentation on what what they offer. That's going to really be helpful for you in filling out your business plan for yourself and for your business. So going into you as an executive summary, are you weak in any areas of business operation? Let's see. Question. What if I did not have all this when we have the first meeting? It does not. That's a good question. It's okay to not have all the answers. This class is a great opportunity for you to get more questions, but your store mentor is there from the beginning to the end. So they can help you get started. They can say, come back to me in a couple of weeks once you have more, or they can help you get the answers. There's no reason to put off having a mentor waiting till you have everything, because honestly, you probably never have everything. You'll never be fully prepared, because the mentor is definitely going to have a question you might not have thought about. Can you take a course to improve your skills? These are things that, you know, this whole section right here, until I get to the next, I think it's the next slide. Are you a 50% success or a 50% failure? You're thinking about yourself here. Are you weak in areas of business operation? And that's okay. It's okay to not be perfect at everything you do. However, you need to be honest with yourself. Do you have the skills? And if not, can you take something to improve it? Is there something you can learn? Like, I don't know, being here at this class. We have marketing classes, we have financial classes. So you may, depending on your business, have to do all of these things on your own to start off with. So what are the skills that you need to improve? And are there things that just flat out you will not, should not, you know that you cannot do if you want to be a successful business? And that's when you can look at, is there someone you know that can, a partner, like a lawyer or a bookkeeper or a CPA? There are people that do marketing, for example. Oh, and you're completely awful. You have no faith in yourself in doing any kind of marketing. You can hire marketing. The important thing is, though, when you're starting something, it's very difficult to hire out everything. So this is that decision time where you sit down and think, what should I? Absolutely, I've got to hire this out. There's no way I can learn it in time to start my business, and it's pivotal for my success. And what are the things that you can work on now and possibly pay somebody to do later as your business grows and develops? That last part, which is most important to your business? Every business is different. So is it a very important part of your business, or is it something that's not as important that you can maybe try to get through with you and your mentor until you have the resources to pay someone else to do it? So Joyce, if you don't mind, could you give me some more information? You're working your business now and you've been doing it, but now you want to go forward full time. Are you doing something else full time? Okay. That would be your business plan will help you decide. Ideally, full time means I make enough money. And so your business plan is going to say, okay, if I work twice as many hours, what do I need to do to make twice as much money or enough money to lose that other income? And how much do I need to have saved up or ready to help me be sure that I'm prepared to take that jump? Because that is a scary jump for everybody. It's very scary. I mean, the easiest way to start a business is you don't have a job now anyway, and you're like, oh, well, I've got nothing to lose. The hardest one is when you've got stuff to lose and you have faith in doing something else. Yeah, and you might not, you may be able to go full time but still not make as much money. And so that's where you say, well, how much do I need to have saved up? And it's really good to have in investing, they call it a stop loss. But what's that point where you'll need to change your mind back? So, okay, I took the leap, I've done it, I'm going to do it for 8 months or 1 year. But if my savings get below this, or if I don't see this, this, and this over the next 3 months, then I need to find some other solution. And sometimes it's good to have that, where you know when your cutoff is. That way you're not stuck in the middle, nervous, things like that. Let's see. Okay, great, Gina. let's see if I can find Gina on it. A lot of people, that's actually really great. Give me just a minute, guys. We're gonna see, I'm not sure. Gina, if you could see if there's something else that it's under, then I can. Or maybe raise your hand. Might be able to find it. Let's see, got a couple more questions here. Okay, awesome. We're gonna keep on going. I'm gonna keep looking for you, Gina. Here. The last part about business plans is there, and again, this goes back to your mentor just asking the right questions. There's gonna be a lot of things that your business needs that the only way sometimes to really know what those things are is having someone that's done the business before that can say, oh yeah, by the way, you gotta pay for this, you gotta pay for that, you gotta pay for that. So it's all the nickel and dimes sometimes, the unexpected expenses that will pop up on you and make what seemed like a successful business not as successful. This is just a list of them, the tools and equipment you need. Leasehold improvements is if you have a building, you have to make that building what you need it to be, whether it's an office space that has walls or bathrooms or anything that you need in there. License and permits to do your business. You may need education fees, professional fees, initial inventory. If you're selling something, you have to have something to sell, which means you need upfront cash that you may not have yet. And then working capital is the amount of money that you need to float the business once it's up and running. So you may have bills prior to getting your first paycheck. But before the first person pays you, you may have to pay stuff. So your working capital is having enough cash flow in order to reach that. Any more questions on that? Let's move this over. This is just a chart. It's if you talk to someone that's owned a business or started a business, understanding how many different pieces of that business there are. Accounting, you got to keep track of your money. You got to keep track of how much is coming in, how much is going out, how much you have left. Human resources becomes hiring, your ability to hire legally and follow all the legal laws if you have employees. Marketing, your business is not going to sell itself. Your product's not going to sell itself. You have to have some idea of how that's going to happen. We're going to hit a lot of marketing today. Sales, customer service, who's dealing with that? Like I know in my case, when I had a business, I had to find someone that did customer service. I am not a people person. I just don't come off very friendly sometimes, especially when I'm busy and stressed and you're working 80-hour weeks and someone comes to you with a complaint and you're busting your butt to do it. Sometimes it's really good to have someone that smiles. Production and fulfillment. Maybe that's not your strategy, maybe it is, but you're definitely gonna have that. And then if you've got technology, computers, registers. I know I've dealt with computers before, and you gotta have somebody that can network everything together. So there's a lot of pieces, a lot of moving pieces. All right, moving on. All day. Let's see. Components. Let's see. Question you made. So that's a really good question, Ashley. Not only do we have access to the slides, you will have this on YouTube. So there's a YouTube channel. Cannot say for certain how long it will take for them to put the video up. As I did mention, this video will be different than the others, even though they're labeled the same thing, because I'm changing a couple things up just to help make sure there's some clarity. I've given this class quite a few times, and I want to make sure that a lot of the questions that are normally asked get answered. They will be, so you won't necessarily have the slides. You'll have the YouTube video that you can flow through, and you'll see the slides in there. Okay. So marketing is the next section I want to talk about because, when it comes down to what questions I get as a mentor, as a business owner, there's a lot more to marketing than I think we really realize. So this is actually from a different, the same class, but the different section. Remember, I told you this is simple steps 1. But there are other steps, and this particular one comes from one of the marketing parts. And one of the things we hit that you want to understand, and going back to business plans, your marketing plan needs to be in your business plan, which means you need to personally know and understand these sections of your business before you attempt to go out into business. What is your company? You need to have a brand. What is your product? What is your message? We're going to hit those. Who are you selling to? I know you want to sell to the whole world, but if you cannot be specific to who you're selling to, then they're not going to be specific to buying from you. So it's very important that we get very clear on who we're selling to. We will not have much communication methods and marketing channels, but they are important in the marketing plan. And then the journey, which is, 80% of customers do not buy the first time. So ideally, you're creating an entire journey of different marketing materials that go from the first time they ever see you until right before they buy, or even right after they buy and continue to buy. So there's an entire process. It's not one and done. It's not like I'm just going to say this one thing and people are going to start coming in. But that's in the marketing one. But here is our slide one. We've got a brand. Maybe you already have this. Maybe this is the thing you think about the most, but we're going to go deeper. A brand is simply the consistency of identifying you separate from your competitor. You cannot be a business. You cannot sell without identifying so that people know what they're buying and things like that. We do this through brand colors, logo, fonts. How do you refer to your company? Is it a full name? Is it a shortened name? Do you go by just a letter? And then the photo styles, if you're doing a website or Instagram, are you creating a fluid, continuous idea that someone can look at any of your Instagram photos and say, okay, I know this is them, or are you really all over the place? That's a lot of branding. And then messaging, what are you saying and who are you saying it to? If you're continually bouncing around to who your product best suits, then nobody really knows who it's for, and therefore they don't think it's for them. And so the messaging being clear is part of your brand. Your brand is your business identity. So it's also your offer. You've got any unique features that your product has. So when you create a brand for yourself, you can't just be, I'm the color red. You need to make sure that your brand and your image and your photos link subconsciously in their brain to what are the features that offers, what are the special benefits. So for example, Walmart is a brand. They service cheap or lowest price value items. So when you think Walmart, you don't just think blue color big store, you also include what they do specifically. Guarantees, production and delivery methods. This is, if you're making something super special, like handmade or high quality or something, we deliver it in a day where the competitor takes a week. I've seen like air conditioning people that come out and that they'll be, if you call by 5 o'clock, they'll be there by the end of the day or something like that. That is a production and delivery method that is specific and unique to your brand. The supplier that you use, again, I don't want to talk about air conditioning people, but I see it sometimes. You have an air conditioner company that sells only Green or only Train because their supplier, they're linking their brand with that supplier. So if you want one, you get the other one as well. That's kind of the goal. Oh, there we go. Just a second. There we go, Gina, I got you. It took me a while. Intellectual property is literally an idea or a patent or permit that you have that's special, that identifies you. So for example, oh my goodness, I don't know if I can remember the name. Those things on the beach. We just had a class on it. I was talking about trademarks and patents. Shambooing, I think is what it's called. Anyway, they are specific because they have the intellectual property. They have a patent on the thing that they're selling, and so they're the one-of-a-kind thing that you can only get it from them. So when you create your brand, you don't necessarily have to have all of these. You may not have guarantees as part of your brand. These are just some things that you can put within your brand identity, something that you want to distinguish yourself from other people that allows people to associate mentally with your business. That's the goal here. And you want to stick to it. Your brand is also going to consider price, as well as your business plan is going to consider price. How is your customer going to react to the price? How much is these by the way are different methods of pricing. So depending on your product, depending on your business or your service, how you come up with the price that you have that you're going to sell it for can be done different ways. And again, it's specific to your business. Consumer reaction, cost, Cost is when you say, okay, if I've got a friend that does cabinets, he sells cabinets, whatever the cabinets cost, fully done, he doubles it, and that's his price. So his cost is 2x whatever they order. That's a method of cost. Restaurants often will do 30%, yeah, right around 30. So whatever the food costs, they'll multiply that by 3, and that's the price of the item. So if it costs 30 cents to get a drink, they're going to charge you 99 cents, something like that. What is the competition pricing? When you have a commodity based, so you're selling something that everybody else kind of has or all the same, sometimes you just go with the competition. So if you're an ice cream store and there's 2 other ice cream stores in a city, how much are you going to charge for your ice cream? Probably about the same. You don't want to go $2 more unless you're branding yourself as high end. And you don't, and if you go less, then you kind of look at your cost. So you're looking at the competition, how much they're charging for it. And then are you offering some form of credit or discount? This has to do with, so let's say you're buying cabinets and he says, okay, if you pay all at once, I sell it to you for $5,000. But if you pay it over time, it's $6,000, right? If you get that monthly payment. So sometimes the terms, again, it depends on your business and what you're trying to do. But you want to, in your business plan, already think out how are you going to adjust your pricing based on terms, how often they pay, and are you going to offer certain discounts for like annual subscription versus a monthly subscription, things like that. A marketing message is your ability to tell the customer clearly what is the need that you are filling, whether it be the price, you're cheapest, whether it be the quality, you're the best, dependability, you can count on us, things like that. Are you filling their pain points? That basically means, are you solving a problem for them? Because you want to make sure that your brand and your marketing addresses the problem that you're solving, not just the product that you have. Does your branding and your marketing and in your business plan, do you clearly identify what you're selling? Have you ever seen a commercial or heard an announcement and thought, okay, that was great, but I don't actually know what you sell. I don't know what you're trying to say, but it was funny. Unique key features. Are you distinguishing yourself from competitors? Or are you just convincing everyone else that they need something, but they don't choose you? So what makes you unique and why should they choose you? Solution to a pain point and target customer. Are you specific to who should, would, and is most likely to buy your product? That is one of the biggest things that we teach in the marketing class, and we're going to hit it a little bit more today. Understanding who are you selling to so that your message does not get mixed up. It doesn't get watered down, and it doesn't cost you so much to spread the message. When it comes to how you're targeting, you want to think about the demographics of the group of people. This is helping you identify the target market for what you're selling. What age are they? What gender are they? What do they do? What kind of things do they do? Where are they located? Zip code, rural, not so rural, urban. You're thinking about the people in general. Why would they, what is it about them that your product distinguishes? Male or female is a really big one. Do they have a family? Are they having kids? You can't really sell to kids, but you can sell to the parents that have kids. Targeted websites. What websites are they clicking on? Who are they listening to? What are they watching? So that you know where you're going to put this message out at. Is your customer looking for a discount or they're looking for a premium product? How are you pricing it? If you're looking for a discount customer, they're going to be in a different place than a customer that's looking for something premium. And then what is the customer looking if they are unaware that they even need your product and service? So where would they be looking if they didn't know that you had something that they wanted or needed? So that you can find people that aren't interested yet. And that's part of your customer journey, figuring out where are they. Other parts to your business plan that you want to figure out is who is your competitor? What are they doing? Because if they're doing halfway decent and they're still in business, there are aspects of their business that you may want to copy. What is the size of their business? The number of employees that they have, so you can use that as a baseline for you. What is the price and quality of your competitors' products or services? What are they providing? And again, do you have something unique outside of what they're providing that makes you special? What is the reputation? Look at the reviews. So if they have something they're really bad at, that's a really good thing for you to make a unique feature that you're good at. So find their strengths and weaknesses. Yes, actually, we will have the YouTube video, and I will, once we get into the library section, I'll go through and I'll copy and paste the link to the YouTube channel here in the chat so that you guys can see the video after it's been finished. Go to your competitor and see, what do you see? Like, what do you like about it? What are you gonna do similar? What are you gonna do different? Does it look too hard? Does it look too easy? So definitely seeing them, suppliers, who are they using? Who are they contracting with? Where are they getting their products from? Is it cheaper, or should you shop around? Should you get from the same place? So definitely comparing what other businesses are around them so that you know like what your competition is in general. When it comes to demographics, so in the marketing section, we have a whole lot more of this. This is pretty much the end of the marketing section, but demographics are one of those things that we're going to hit. You need to know depending on what price your product is, what's the income level of the person you're trying to sell to? Does it matter? Gender, age, marital status, those matter depending on what you're selling. Absolutely. Geographic, where are they at? Occupation, what do they do? Because that's also going to help you figure out, if they're looking in a certain magazine, or if they're listening to, are they on LinkedIn or on Facebook? That's going to be something there. Educational background, sometimes that's tied to income, but oftentimes it's not. And so that's a good place too for you to make sure you know. Familial status means, are they having kids or not? And what I want to do next, Gina, if you're ready, we're going to move on to one of the best resources you can ever get into. And I'm going to tell you, when I started as a SWOR mentor, I kind of laughed at this because I was co-mentoring. I had somebody kind of helping me through, and they said to the mentee, yeah, go to the library. And I was thinking, oh my gosh, the library, I haven't done that since, it's been so long. But then I found out what he meant. The library has so many incredible resources that will help you in this and a couple other things in your whole planning process. And remember, the 50% that fail and succeed depends on the 50% that plan. And the library has resources, a ton of them, that can help you successfully plan and answer a lot of those questions that you're like, well, how do I know if I should put my business here? How do I know how much X, Y, and Z is going to cost once I'm in business? So I want to turn it on over to you, Gina.
Thank you so much. Thank you for that plug. Let me share my screen. Oh, host has disabled screen sharing. Well, that's unfortunate.
Gotcha. I know.
There we are.
And if I can really quick, so she's going to do, she's going to talk about the library, and then when she's finished, we're going to come back. We're going to hit different types of businesses, legal entities, and a couple more things. So definitely a lot more to come.
Okay, let me get a better view. Okay, does everyone see Charlotte Mecklenburg Library? Why you should have a library card? Yes? Sorry, now I can't hear anyone.
They said yes, they're in the chat, but they're all.
Sorry,
they're
once
all
I did the full screen, then I couldn't see or hear what people were saying. Let me do it once more. Apologies. Okay. And slideshow. Okay, there we are. As you just learned, you have already paid for your library card if you live in Mecklenburg County. Your property taxes pay for your library card. So you might as well use all the resources that we're purchasing for you and for your neighbors and other business owners. I want to do this by sharing an example. It might not be a business that you all are interested in, but it's a concrete way to show you the resources that we do have. First thing to think about, if I were going to open a pet supply store, I would need data. So, if you have a pet, you are in good company. 70% of households in the United States have at least one pet. The way I know that is by using a resource called ABI Inform. And I can find that on the library's homepage, which is CM for Charlotte Mecklenburg Library.org. Up at the top of the page, there is a link for um, research, and clicking on that will give you an alphabetical list of the literally hundreds of resources that we have. Near the top, you will see this one. It's called ABI Inform. It has articles about business, and it also has market research reports. And that's what this is. That's where I got the 70% of people have pets. I know that they spend between 480 and just under $3,500 per year on their pets. So I can get some background by this resource. It's listed at the bottom, ABI Inform. The next resource I want to mention to you has an odd name and it will be hard to remember, but I can share a copy of these slides so that you don't have to furiously write down all the things that I'm saying. Um, Maybe just remember a little bit about it and where it's falling in this presentation. The name of the resource is called Data Axle Reference Solutions. And the description there is that it's one of the world's largest databases of industry and company information. So you can find out all of the companies throughout the United States that specialize in the area of business that you're interested in. Um, to be honest, you don't want to do all of the ones throughout the United States. I talked to someone a month or so ago who told me he wanted all of the businesses in the country that did home security, I think. And I tried to convince him he really didn't want all of the businesses. And in fact, the database will only give you 500,000 at a time. So you're limited to your research. So what you would want to do is limit to Mecklenburg County, if that's where you would like to put your new business, especially if you want a physical location and not an online or virtual source. So with Data Axle, you can find out where the businesses are that sell pet supplies. And this is a screenshot of that search. There are 269 businesses that sell pet supplies. They're listed alphabetically, although you can sort um, by these other fields, but it tells you who owns it, where it is, and the phone number. And you can click on each one of these and get more specific information about the individual company. You can also, while you're in Data Axle, map those businesses. So each of these little pins is one of the 269 businesses. If that's the kind of business you want to open, these are your competitors, and this is where they are located. You can use Data Axle in conjunction with another source called Simply Analytics. It tells you what it is there at the bottom, a web-based mapping application that enables you to quickly create professional quality themed maps and reports. So Data Axle focuses on companies, Simply Analytics focuses on people. So this map shows you where people live who spend money on pets. This legend up here in the upper right um, tells you how to read it. So the lighter the color, the less money people spend on their pets. And then this dark red is where people are spending a lot of money on their pets. For example, this area up here in the northern part of the county, this is roughly Huntersville, Cornelius, Davidson. Um, Folks spend a lot of money on pets in that area. This is outside the county. The yellow line indicates Mecklenburg County. So this is somewhere over in Cabarrus County, probably. But you can also see down towards the bottom part of the map, people are spending a fair amount on their pets. And then what you can do um, is search by more specific um, demographics. So this shows you Mecklenburg County column, the North Carolina column, and then all of the United States. Mecklenburg County spent almost a $500 million on pets. And so this is the information that we've learned so far. How many competitors, how many people have pets, how much money they spend, where the businesses are. And then this is what I wanted to show you here on the left. You're looking at the Simply Analytics map that tells you about the people. On the right is the same screenshot, the same area of the map that shows you where the businesses are. So, for example, people are spending a lot of money here, but there seems only to be one business. So maybe that would be an area that you would want to target. Oops, sorry. And the other thing that Simply Analytics, and remember that's the people focused one, where people live by age, by amount of money they make, by the amount of money they spend. You can break it down in all different ways. And this is an example that breaks it down by age. So the first column that you can see completely is how many people live in Mecklenburg County or in this particular census tract, this particular area, who are 18 and 19 years old, and then broken down by 5 to 10 year age ranges going forward. So you might want to look at people who have a lot of disposable income. 18 and 19-year-old people maybe would not be your target audience. They might be in college. They might not have jobs. Maybe they can't spend a lot of money on their pet supplies. But if you're looking a little bit older, or maybe even settled people, retired people who have more money to spend on their pets. And so once you decide, or based on the map and based on your consultations with your mentor, of course, once you decide where you would like to put your business, what kind of audience you would like to market to, you can move into the next step and figure out how to market. What you might say about your business. So this resource, Master File Premier, gives you articles in journals, and you might think, why would I want to read about a pet bed or positive mental health outcomes in cancer survivors linked to pet ownership? The reason that you might want to do this research is to pluck some things out of these articles and these recommendations that you can use in your marketing. So, for example, this first one, that's an article in Prevention, pick the perfect pet bed. Well, maybe they say that XYZ pet bed is the best for your arthritic dog. And maybe you know that you're the only business that sells XYZ pet bed. Well, you can say that when you market it, you know, only business in the area that sells the top recommended bed for your dog. So take a look at master file. It's huge and it can be overwhelming, but if you can do a good search and get the help that you need from the library staff, then you can find little nuggets that you can pull out to use going forward in your marketing and maybe even in your selection of items to carry in your store. Couple other places that are recommended just to keep up with business trends in the area. Charlotte Business Journal and the Charlotte Observer newspaper both are available through the library resources. It does require a library card. Um, Library cards, again, are free as long as you live in Mecklenburg County. All you need to do is apply online or go into one of our locations. We would ask to see your photo ID. Driver's license is fine. If your ID does not have your Mecklenburg County address, we would ask to see something that does. If your license is up to date, photo, and your accurate place of residence, then that's all we need, just that one thing. But if you have moved, you haven't updated your license, which happens a lot. We're a very mobile city and county. Just let us see something that does show your current address, a piece of mail that has come to your house, your lease, your credit card statement or utility statement, and we can get you set up on the spot with a library card. And all of these resources you can do both from within the library and from offsite, wherever you are. You can do it from your phone, you can do it from your computer. We'll just ask you, or the computer will ask you to verify that you have a library card. You type in that number on the back, and it'll let you right into all of these resources that we're making available to you. Couple other things that are good, especially if you're rusty on some things. LinkedIn Learning and Universal Class, maybe you remember using Excel when you were in school, but that was 10 years ago, and it's been updated and you've forgotten some points. So these are resources that can help you get up to speed on some of those software, um, web design, web development, um, and just general computer use. Many locations, ours at University City is included, offer technology tutoring. So if this is not a way that you learn, if you're not if watching a video instruction is not really your cup of tea, then you can sign up for a technology session with one of our staff members and sit down one on one, either virtually or in person, and review some of the software or some of the technology computer applications that you feel like you need to brush up on. Um, Another thing, Gale Directory and Encyclopedia of Organizations will help you connect with groups of people who are doing similar things. Um, and then I cannot stress this enough. In addition to the technology tutoring, you can also book a librarian for a 1 hour session to talk about research that will be useful to you in developing your business. Let's say you look at Data Axle, you look at ABI Inform or Simply Analytics, and you just can't get a handle on it. And they're huge databases. You get lots of results, um, but you don't know what to do with what you have found. These consultations, book a librarian, um, can be just a huge, huge help. These are people, librarians who are specialists, experts in business. This one shows a virtual consultation. There are some that are in person, and you will find these from our library homepage. Again, that's cmlibrary.org. Up at the top, it's under events, which is a little confusing because that sounds like a program or a party that we're having here at the library. But events applies to these one-on-one consultations as well. And so you can type in your search bar up at the top, you can type in book a librarian, or you can limit along this bottom, this left-hand side, you see at the bottom business development. You can also limit to one-on-one, and you'll find the locations and the times of these opportunities to sit down, again, virtual or in person, sit down with a librarian who can talk you through the research that you need to do. Um, it's a library. You knew this was coming. Don't forget that we have books in print, online, audiobooks, videos, on all different topics, and certainly on starting your own business. So you can just do a catalog search, see which books we have. If you're close to a library that doesn't have the items that you need, you can have them sent to you. So if you see there's a book at the Pineville Library, but you live in Davidson, you don't have to drive to Pineville. You can just put a request for that book, and the Pineville people will put it in a specially marked bin, and it will make its way up to Davidson, and they will put it on the shelf for you there under your name, and have it ready for you to check out close to where you live and to close to where the library you use is located. So this is an important screen. Why should you have a library card? To fill in the gaps, find customers, learn how to market, learn resources and computer software that you don't know or might have forgotten. And then here at the bottom, the two really, really important things to remember: the library's website, cmlibrary.org, and the library's phone number. This is a general number. If they don't have the answer, they can refer you to someone who does. 704-416-0101. Business hours is when you can get that. Someone at that location. You can also find your individual library from our webpage, the library that you're close to, and call and talk to someone at University City, which is my location, or one of the other locations. There are 20 different locations throughout the system, and anyone at any of those locations are more than happy to help you. Um, Thank you for going through that with me. I know it was very, very quick. I know it's a lot to take in, but the most important thing that I can say is that we are here to help you. We are here to answer your questions. We want to see you succeed, and we encourage you to reach out at whatever time is convenient and appropriate for you. So thank you so much for taking the time to listen.
Wonderful. Thank you, Gina. And Gina, we did have a question, if you could answer it really quick. I believe I did. She was asking how much is it for a outside, a non-resident for a library card?
Thank you. That's
Yeah, go ahead.
No, that is a great question. I apologize that I did not mention that. It is $45 per year. That's for your family. If you're a senior citizen, it's $35 per year. Again, for your family. I um I should say that if you don't live in Mecklenburg County, it would be worthwhile checking on your local library. They won't have all of these same resources. They will have some of them. So if you're in Cabarrus County, Iredell, whatever, Union County, it's worth checking to see. Some are resources that are shared by libraries throughout the state, and some are resources, some of the ones I've mentioned are resources specific to Charlotte Mecklenburg Library that we've purchased for county residents. So either way, we're happy to help. And let me say, you can ask us questions without having a library card. You just couldn't check out materials or access the virtual resources from off-site. But you can come into any of our locations and use the resources on our computers. You do not have to have a library card to come in person.
Okay, and there was another question as well.
Yes.
Know when any of the next book of library session will be posted on the website. It appears that there's none available for June.
Oh, I do not know the answer to that. I can find out. I'll do a little digging in the rest of the time that I'm here. If I can get that answer, I'll post it there in the chat, but I don't have it right offhand, but I'll see what I can find out.
Wonderful. Any more questions for Gina? Okay. Okay, and if you do, just pop them in there. I understand you might not have time to type it before I get moving. That doesn't mean you can't ask it. So here we go. We're going to go back to our slide. There are two more sections here that we are going to hit. Let's see. So the first one is going to be, we're going to talk about different types of business because a lot of people just don't understand the options available to them. And I want to make sure that we know that before we jump in and think that start putting our plan together. And then after this section, we move into entities and legal structure and legal and tax. So it's really important to understand what the structures do, how they help you, why you get them. And then we'll talk a little bit about how to get them. That's not necessarily as much the main purpose is to understand what they are and how they work and whether or not you need it. So here we go. Let me make sure I move my chat so I can see it. Where did that go? It's hiding from me. Okay, so if you have a chat, you can ask. You can also put it in the Q&A is the easiest way for me to see the questions. So here we go, moving on, because I cannot see the chat. Let's see. So most people here are coming to do a new business. They think really that that's the only way to start a business is a new one. Makes sense. You are from scratch, coming up with an idea, coming up with all the systems and processes and branding and marketing and everything that there is. You need the money up front. And there's some serious advantages. Maybe it's an unentered market. You have no previous reputation or problems that an existing business would already have. You're in a new location. Nobody can say it's bad, but at the same time, understand that that's a negative because no one knows who you are yet. You get to choose your location, your name, your logo, build up your own relationships. You may already have relationships that you can use, and you get to explore new markets and new directions. So this is starting a new business. A lot of people start here. They think this is the only one, so that's why we have this. This is not the only way to start a business, but we are going to talk about it. There is more risk in those disadvantages. It's unexplored. That area that you put the business in, or those customers, or that product, or your logo and your brand, they're untested. And so it's a potentially big risk finding out whether or not that business model, that your pricing, anything about it is going to work. Because maybe everything's perfect except you charge too little. And then when you try to charge more, things break. So it can be disadvantageous. There's no track record, and it can be difficult to get financing. So if you are starting a business that's going to need money, without a track record, it can be challenging to convince a bank why you should be getting money to prove that you're going to make money. Let's see, click up here. Next is buying an existing business. So, 50% of businesses go out of business, but some of those try to sell before they go out of business. There can be huge benefits and advantages to finding someone that's already doing something. So they maybe already have suppliers, they already have a location, they may already have a brand, they may already have some of the stuff that maybe you're not excited about. They have a known quantity with a proven formula name. Basically, you know the quality too. You know what this business is doing, good or bad. You can see how much money it's making, you can see how much things cost, and you can determine what changes you can make to it to make it successful. So you're not shooting in the dark. You get to review existing financial records from that business when you go to buy it. I would highly, there's no way to buy it without looking at the financial records, determine how much it's making, how much it's spending, things like that. And since it has a track record, if you need financing to buy it, you can often get that. If it is a business, a lot of times people just want to get out of business. It's not easy. Running a business is not always easy. And sometimes people are just done. It could be familial problems. It could be parenting problems. You have kids and you're like, I don't spend enough time. I want out. And so there might be different financing options available. An example of that would be, I have seen owner financing before, which is where the owner says, yeah, just take it over. Maybe give me $5,000, take it over, start running it, and I'm out. And pay me whatever, $2,000 a month, $3,000 a month. That is not uncommon in some instances for a business owner to want to get out. Your disadvantages are maybe they're getting out because something is wrong. Maybe there's debt or there's a bad reputation. People have loyalty to that one owner. It's the only thing keeping the business going. Maybe they sell computers and all their inventory is going out of date. So there can definitely be reasons that somebody is excited to sell to you. So it's not always good. And that's where a mentor can help, where they can help guide you through maybe some of the things, look at some of the, not contracts, that's more of a legal issue. But they can definitely look at what the business is doing and give you the right questions to ask to see if this is, somebody could literally be out there doing exactly what you want to do right now, and they want to stop for any reason. You want obviously be careful of the reputation, because that can hurt your sales, and then you try to get in there thinking you're going to fix it, but reputation is very difficult to, think about it. Have you ever been to a restaurant and gotten bad service and never gone back? Even if it got bought by somebody else, it's still not going back. Obsolete inventory, when you have employee issues, is everybody going to quit when you take over? That really depends on the type of business. But let's say you've got a cleaning business, and she's got, you buy it from a lady, she has a team of 7 people, and they go out and they clean. She makes about $100,000 a year cleaning houses. And you get all of her clients, all her regular business. And so it looks like you're going to take over this business and boom, you're going to make the same $100,000. But as soon as you step in the door, those 7 people are really connected to her, the owner. And when she sold, they left. And not because you're a bad person, they don't like you, but that's the way employees do. They're like, I'm scared of change. And boom, now you've got 3 staff. You have to cut the number of people that you can clean. You're cleaning half as well. Because the people that stayed weren't the best ones. And now you've got a bad reputation, you're trying to grow your sales. So employee issues can definitely be a concern. And there's no guarantee that the success that a business has had will continue while you run it. I've seen this a lot in restaurants. Restaurants are probably one of the hardest businesses to run. People come in, they think they can do it, and immediately starts to go down. So just because a restaurant is succeeding doesn't mean because you buy it, it's going to just run itself. So while good, and you want to decide, where are you? Are you looking for a new business? Are you looking for an existing business? Well, let's look what else we have. Franchise. So franchise is a mix between a new and an existing. You're buying a mold. You're buying a copy of systems and structures within a business, but you get to start a new location. Now, technically, you can also buy an existing franchise location, but either way, a franchise already has the systems and processes, branding, inventory, everything up and running. They usually have training, guidance, marketing, sales. Power of a franchise means that they usually have buying power. They can get things cheaper. Their website has name brand recognition. Sometimes they have consulting relationships that help you because a good franchisee makes a good franchisor more money. So the better you do, the better they do, and they work as a team. However, you don't have any freedom to change whatever it is, and you can't sell your own products, you can't make your own choices. A lot of these are driven by the franchise because they're saying, hey, it works, keep the system. You pay ongoing royalties and fees, so there is a price for paying for their system. And each franchise is different. Binding contracts limit you to exits, so it's a little harder to get rid of it, but, and then franchisor problems are your problems. So if the franchisor goes through something like, bad marketing or they, some bad name recognition, like Chipotle, if you have all of a sudden you have an E. coli scare in a restaurant, well, your restaurant might have not had it, but your company is now struggling and you're part of that company. So that's some of the disadvantages of a franchise. See, home-based, I see this a lot. Advantages are huge, and this is one of the most common businesses I'm seeing start up right now because you don't have to get a location. It's way cheaper to get started, less overhead. You can work theoretically. You can work when you want, so you have a little bit of that flexibility because you're not building the office and having open hours. There's tax advantages to it, but no more so than any other business. And because it's not location-based, you can hire people anywhere in the US. You could have different sales agents and things like that from anywhere in the world. Do you face your house, depending on what you're selling, may face zoning or restrictions? You're going to feel isolated from other people, especially your entire team is online. That can be difficult. It's difficult to find financing because some banks don't even see it as a business. However, that really depends on the business. And the other question is, what do you need financing for? Because some of the biggest costs are now removed by doing this. Family distractions, man, that's just working from home anyway, whether you have a business or whether you're working for somebody else, working from home with a family can be exciting, to say the least. Okay. Nonprofit, not something we're going to talk about a lot. Most of the people that are here that say they want to start a business are often looking for money. They want to start a business that makes a profit. However, nonprofits, they do get government grants. They are protected for liability issues. And generally, when somebody wants to just make an impact in their community. But what we do say when we teach the nonprofit simple steps process, check into profits first, because there's nothing that says a for-profit company cannot give money away. But there is something that says a not-for-profit cannot take money. So you can be a for-profit and give away to charity all you want. There's nothing stopping you. So when you get into the structure, so for example, let's look at the disadvantages. You've got to focus on educational, charitable purposes and cannot profit those who created the organization. So also the person that starts it, say you want to start a nonprofit, you can technically get voted out and your nonprofit will continue to run without you if they don't agree with what you started. All profits remain within the organization. So you can get a salary, you make money as the owner, but then you're the CEO, which is part of a board, and the board can get paid for their duties, but the board can determine how much you get paid, and the government can control if you make too much. They can look at that and say, oh, that's a little egregious. And then you must apply and qualify for the 501(c) sales tax exemption, blah, blah, blah. Like there's definitely some hoops, definitely some structure, and it's got to be something you really want. And if you're considering it, get with a mentor to weigh your ideas, like weigh the options before really jumping in and say, absolutely 100% I'm going to start it. At least that's what I've heard from the mentors that help with nonprofits. Online businesses probably have the lowest of the startup costs, growing consumer acceptance to shop online. We understand that it's a lot that you can do from your internet today. So understanding, is this something that you wanted to start? Flexibility to do this business anywhere, anytime. There's low barriers to entry, but it's important to understand that now you're competing against the world, not just locally. So let's say you want to build websites for people. Well, now all of a sudden, there are a lot of website builders in every state and even in every country that can come in and outbid you. So you now have more competition. I'm not saying not to do it, but because something is easy to start, it becomes more competitive. Consumers have high expectations and are less tolerant to problems, and there's no personal contact. So if you're a great salesperson, sometimes an online business is not going to give you that outcome because you're not able to use your sales skills, your personal skills, the same way. Okay. Any questions on that? And then we're going to hit. This is definitely the topic of choice. I know most people want to hit this. those were options on when you're building your business plan. Do you want a new business? Do you want a franchise? Do you want to buy somebody else's business? You can start looking for people that might be selling it. Definitely options. Okay. Forms of organizations. Now, they're not all included here. This is the main slide for the score part of this. Sole proprietorship, partnership, limited liability company, C Corp, and S Corp. I know that doesn't help you much, so we're gonna go into some detail about it. But I do want to ask the question, if you guys can comment, are you looking to start a company or have you already started a company? So either say looking or already, and let me know where you guys are in that journey. Is it something you're trying to learn about, or is it something you've already done and maybe you don't understand and want more information about? So looking or already. Okay. There are two fundamental pieces that people need to understand when it comes to incorporating. One is legal and the other is taxes. Now I'm going to reiterate this. I'm not a CPA and I'm not an attorney. So none of this is advice. I'm just teaching the information for you to be educated and be able to, on your own, determine what you feel will fit best for your business. Here's why this is so important. I run into this issue a lot, my own self in my businesses. If you go to a CPA, they're going to tell you, go ask your attorney. If you go to an attorney, they're going to tell you, go ask your CPA, because there are two parts to an entity. And your business needs to decide on both parts before it creates the structure. And your attorney can't tell you what structure because it doesn't know how you want to be taxed. And the CPA can't tell you the structure because he doesn't know how you want to be legally structured. So here we go. This first section is on legal protection. You have two questions to ask. Do you want legal protection in your company, or do you not want legal liability protection in your company? This is the first step. This is the first question you're going to ask yourself. And I put here in the red box. I don't want to get outside of where we should be looking. There are more than this red box. Obviously, you got corporation, S Corp, you got some stuff. But this in the red box is kind of where we're going to stay. Keep it simple. If you're already looking to go outside of the red box, then you're probably already wanting to talk to somebody like a CPA and your attorney. So, legal liability protection means that you're creating something separate from yourself. You are identifying your business as separate. What that means is, if somebody sues you, if your company runs into legal issues, you, the individual, and your tax, your social security number, your house if you bought one, your car if you bought it, your college loans if you have them, any investments, maybe you've got some money in savings, your 401k, things like that. These things are protected when your business runs into problems. So if you want the protection, then you're going to be over under the Moore structure, the LLC, and the S Corp. A sole proprietorship and a general partnership are not separate entities. They are not separate. They are just you filing on your own personal tax return that you made money. But there's no separation from you and your business. Same thing with a general partnership. The general partnership just means you have more than one person not creating a business. So the sole proprietorship is by yourself not having a business, and a general partnership is you and somebody else, multiple people, not having protection. Why would you not want protection? Because some businesses do not have a bunch of clients. They don't have a bunch of risk. They don't have a bunch of reasons that somebody would potentially need to protect liability, or there's not enough money or assets within the company to validate any of that. Also, you can have what's called liability insurance, which you would and need to have either way, and your liability protection can help you some. So even though you don't have the government liability, you do have an insurance liability up to whatever you insure. Okay. And so your LLC and your S corp, they are more professional in, many people's opinion, because you now created a separate identity that pays taxes, well, it doesn't pay taxes, but it files kind of for itself, and it pays expenses for itself, and it's the name that people write checks to. So do you want legal protection or not? And remember, you guys can ask questions. I don't want to go too fast. Next is how is your business taxed? So the first one was legal. Do you want legal liability protection or not? Now, many people will suggest and advise that it's not that expensive to go ahead and incorporate. And therefore, if you want to run a business, you probably should. I'm not giving you advice if you should. Many people suggest that if you're going to start the business, go ahead and go all in. That's kind of what they say. But it is up for you to decide. The next is taxes, how a business is taxed. So now that you've decided to incorporate, you've decided to create a company. Notice this is a list of 3 different types of companies. I don't have sole proprietor on here because a sole proprietor and an LLC are taxed the exact same way. They're taxed the same. One has liability protection and the other one doesn't. So if you want an LLC or a sole proprietorship, understand that one has legal protection, the other one doesn't, but they're taxed the exact same way. They're called pass-through companies. They pay the thing called self-employment tax, which means that basically the company makes money, or you make money as a sole proprietorship. You make money, and at the end of the year, when you file taxes, you're going to pay taxes on the income from your company. So all the money that it made is called income, and you pay them. And because and we'll hit self-employment tax in just a minute. Whereas an LLC can be taxed as a sole proprietor, or it can be taxed as an S corp. So for what we're talking about today, notice there's a bunch of things on this sheet. We're not talking about all of those. We're talking about the primary, most likely, most commonly chosen for people that would be attending this class would be looking at. That way we're not going outside of the box. An LLC, which is just called an LLC, taxed as a sole proprietor, which is not usually included. Nobody says I'm an LLC taxed as a sole proprietor. They just say I'm an LLC. Or they say I'm an S corp. Notice that an S corp is an LLC. So sometimes you will hear it called LLC taxed as an S corp. It's still an LLC, which means it has the same legal protection as an LLC. But in this case, we've chosen to tax it differently. It's almost like a middle ground between a limited liability company and a corporation. So a big company like Apple, where they have stock and they have dividends and they have shareholders. It's almost like that, but it's like a middle ground because it's still small and it's still used for smaller businesses. It can only have 100 shareholders, for example. And so what we're looking for here is now, what's the difference between LLC taxed as a sole proprietor and what's the difference between an LLC taxed as an S corp? And the main difference, aside from there are regulatory differences, which means that an S corp is more structured. It has a little bit more work to do at the end of every year. It has to have its taxes filed differently. Whereas a limited liability just has an annual report filed. There's a little bit more money involved with the Chapter S or an S corp. But when you create the S corp, you do not have the same liability on self-employment tax. This is the main difference. So this is what we want to take away from it. Self-employment tax is this. Oh, it does it in pieces. Cool. When you have a job, you have a W-2 job. Let's say you work at McDonald's. When you get paid, out of your check comes FICA. What comes out is you have income tax, but you also have a Social Security tax. You have a Medicare tax, and that total, those two combined, is 7.65%. So in this case, if you made $100, you'd only be making $92.35. So money comes out of your check from your money. But what most people don't realize is that when you work at McDonald's and that much money, $7.65 comes out of your $100 check, McDonald's also pays an additional $7.65, called an employer match. So as the employee, you got taxed, and as the employer, they got taxed. Well, what happens if you are the employee and the employer? That's what we call self-employment tax. We basically say that you, as the employer, are also paying the employee, and therefore you have a total of 15.3% coming out of every dollar that you make. So if you make $100, $15.30 comes out of your check. And, you know, a lot of people don't like that, but the government does. The difference between your LLC and your S Corp is how much of this has to get paid. I don't think I put the slide. Okay, so I don't have the slide. Your S Corp has to pay a salary. It has to pay, look at the rest of the slides, sorry. Your S Corp has to pay the salary to you, a reasonable amount. So let's say you make $100,000, your S Corp has to pay, let's say $50,000, and therefore you pay self-employment tax on $50,000 of that. The other $50,000 does not pay the self-employment tax. So, long story short, the S Corp works better most of the time, talk to a CPA, if you're making in profit or income over, let's say, $60,000, $70,000 a year. It depends on your specific case, but above a rough threshold around there, you will save money, thousands of dollars, by having an S Corp over an LLC. So you could save thousands of dollars by not paying as much self-employment tax because you created the S Corp. Now, there's a little bit more work involved in the S Corp, not a lot, but there is more work, and that's something you can talk to your CPA about that says, okay, I want to decide between these two. I know I want legal protection, so I just can't decide if I want the S Corp or the LLC. Let's see, any questions yet? This is the good stuff. So you're trying to decide, you get an LLC, you get an S Corp, that's what we're talking about here. Slideshow. I'm waiting to see questions. This is where they usually come in. For our instances, keep it simple, sole proprietorship or LLC, LLC or S Corp. Those are your kind of your parameters that you're looking for. No questions. Okay. Pete, when you say annual earnings, you could say it as an earnings, but it's really the profit. So let's say you had 100,000 in revenue. That's sales, 100,000 in revenue. Then you have to pay expenses, and so after you pay expenses, what's left is profit. So if you want to call that annual earnings, you can. And that profit is what's taxed. Great question, Elisa, I believe it is. If you can start as an LLC, you can absolutely start as an LLC sole proprietor, or you can actually start as a sole proprietor and then incorporate to an LLC. And then you can stair step up from LLC to an S Corp. The key to an S Corp is when you incorporate for the first time in the beginning, you have the choice to select S Corp when you start. Otherwise, you have to wait until the next tax year, and you have to file by your tax period. So March 15th is when a company files. And so let's say you become an LLC this year, and then next year you want to, basically you can't backtrack it. So if you become an LLC right now, you don't select S Corp, you'll not be able to use the tax advantages for this year, 2024. You'll have to elect it in 2025 for 2025. So that is the caveat that yes, you can scale up when you start making more money. But you can only scale up and make sure that you apply at that time. Any other questions on that? If you're looking, so this is not in this slide either, but I get this question a lot, like how do you start an S Corp? I mean, an LLC, how do you incorporate it all? There are websites for sure. Can you do it on your own or do you need an attorney? A mentor is free and they can really help you make some of these decisions. LegalZoom is a whole lot cheaper than an attorney, but depending on what your business is and what kind of operating agreements and things like that would help you determine whether or not an attorney is as necessary as potentially just doing it on your own with a standard company with a simple product or process. So if you're in doubt or curious on how to get that thing set up, your SCORE mentors will have worksheets for you that can just help you, like step 1, step 2, step 3, how to get it all done. If you want to set it up, it can also help you understand the fees and the process and the agreements and things. Or an attorney is decent for it. They just cost a lot more money. So what I'm trying to do is not necessarily say don't go to an attorney. I'm not saying it. But a lot of times the more information you have before you make it to an attorney will help you get the best bang for your buck. Okay, I've got a couple more slides here. We'll hit there are insurances. You want to make sure that you understand that your business needs insurance, depending on what you have, what you're doing. Property insurance, liability insurance, which we talked about. Even if you have a limited liability company, you're still going to need some form of liability insurance to protect the liability of the company, even though you're as an individual separated. If you have vehicles, you're going to need them insured, obviously. Workers' comp insurance, health insurance, life insurance, those are depending on your business, whether or not you would have health insurance or life insurance for you or your employees. Business interruption, if you're the sole operator of your business and something happens to you, you're out of money. So that's where having an interruption can help. Workers' compensation is legally required. So if you have employees, you have to put money into a workers' compensation insurance in case it is necessary later in life. And that's based on how much money you pay people and the likelihood of your business or injuring, people being injured. Understand that there are government regulations, not only with the entities, but also in the operations. So your business may, like a real estate agent has to have a license. She has to be a licensed real estate agent. You can't just go out and sell real estate without a license. Even selling cars, sometimes you need a license if you sell more than a certain number of cars. Labor laws, as soon as you start employing people, you need to understand all the different labor laws, who you can hire, who you can't hire, when they can work, when they can't work, how much they have to get paid, how much their taxes are, and the frequency of that tax being paid. Immigration laws, if your business is in some field where you have to wonder whether or not they're citizens. IRS and Social Security withholding and payments. So when we talk about those, your self-employment, but you're also taking that, remember I told you an employee pays and then McDonald's pays. Well, in this case, you're the McDonald's, you're the company. And so any of your employees also have to have things taken out of their paycheck that's paid to the government different periods of time, depending on the size and scale of your business. And so that's where CPAs, bookkeepers, accountants, helping you before you get started, knowing who are you going to have to pay checks to, how often, and how much before you start getting those employees making money. How y'all feel about that? So if I was to ask, is your product or service in need? Can your product or service be expanded to gain additional customer groups? Look at your market. Do you know who your potential buyers are? And you can just do this on your own. You kind of write your number in there, but really we're just kind of going through it. No matter what the answer you get, just kind of think of these questions. I know what it'll take to start my business, or do you still have some questions? And that's okay. Possibly you have more questions now than you did before. The whole point of the class is to kind of spark your thinking and say, okay, I need to go learn this. I need to go learn that. I need to ask more questions about this. What's it going to take to start your business? Funding. There's not a lot of funding in this, but think about it. What is your business? Is it a new business? Is it an existing business, franchise? What kind of things are you going to have to pay for? And do you have the money to do it? And are you ready? Are you ready to push, do the work? If you're not quite ready to take the time on a business plan, you might not be quite ready to take the time on a business. And you understand some of the challenges that are ahead, and you have a plan to tackle them. If you think there are absolutely no challenges, then I encourage you to speak to a mentor, because you don't know what they're going to be. I can't say, oh, you're going to have a problem with this. Your problems are going to be completely different than someone else's problems, but I can almost guarantee that there will be some challenges. There will be some problems. And so what we want to make sure is that we're aware that something's going to come up and that we have a plan, or we have a plan to have a plan on whatever that is. Okay. let's see, you have questions so far? So, do I need a business for an online, sorry, do I need a corporate entity, I guess you would say, for a online business or a digital marketing agency? And so that's gonna go back to this question. Do you need legal protection or not? Oh, well, two things. Number one, do you need legal protection for it? Yes or no? And that's an up to you thing. I can't give you advice on that situation, but you could get, in theory, you could get liability insurance. And because you're probably not gonna have major, different types of customers, there's a chance that you probably could not need the liability. There is a chance that you don't need that liability protection by creating an LLC. And if you feel like you don't, because you talked to an attorney and they've said, you know, I don't think you need it, but an attorney would have to give you that advice, not me. Then the next question you would ask yourself is, how much money is it going to make? Because if you are a sole proprietor, which means you have no LLC, and then your business starts bringing you in $250,000. Well, let's just say 100. Let's say that your business starts bringing you a profit of $100,000 a year. You are paying $15,300 in taxes per year in self-employment tax because you have not created an S corp or an LLC that is taxed as an S corp because you've decided to be a sole proprietor. In that case, if you had instead created an S corp, an LLC, and then converted it to an S corp, then you'd be saving $7,000 a year just because you created the LLC, even though you didn't think you needed the liability protection. So there's multiple things in play and decisions for you to make when it comes to, do I want to create? And it has 100% to do with your plan of how much money are you planning to make? How many customers are you planning to have? Are you planning to hire employees? I will say, just throwing it out there, when it comes to employees, that is one of a tipping scale for many attorneys that you need, the LLC becomes more viable because you're now protecting yourself from employee concerns as much as you're protecting yourself from customer concerns. We do teach another class, or I taught another class with the Women's Business Center in Winston, and we talked a lot about the breakdowns of the legal and tax implications. And it's also important, although we're not going to go into all of them in detail, it's important to understand that legal liability protection from an LLC is only valid in some cases. There are things that can be done within your business that it doesn't count for. There are times where you are still on the hook. And so without, again, going into detail, that's a completely different class where it goes into more of this. It's important to look or research more, talk to a mentor, because you only get the legal liability protection if you do certain things a certain way within your company. So you need to know that. And things like taxes, things like certain loans, you're still on the hook. So you can be. So legal liability protection doesn't necessarily save you. If your business suffers, you're going to suffer either way. So we don't want to suffer in business and pretend like, oh, well, I had an LLC, I was good, I'm protected. If you get a loan, you owe the loan. If you owe taxes, you owe taxes. If you owe payroll, you owe payroll, no matter what. Any other questions? And did that answer your question, Elisa? Okay. This, by the way, is the YouTube link. If you want to go back and watch this in its entirety at double speed if you want, although I do talk pretty quick. And I'm going to hang around. I'm open to answering more questions. I will reiterate again, charlotte.score.org. There may be some people here that are not in Charlotte. It does not matter. SCORE is a national group, and so I'm actually a different chapter than Charlotte. And so you type in your zip code when you go to score.org, and you can find a mentor. And obviously it doesn't even matter where they live, because if you're doing a Zoom meeting, which many of my meetings are, then you're just meeting somebody. You can meet somebody anywhere in the country if it has to do with whatever business or thing that you're trying to work on. All right. Also, if you want, and you don't want to type your question, I'm more than happy to allow y'all to talk and actually do things. If you want to raise your hand or something, I can bring you on. I can answer questions for you, things you have, anything that we talked about, anything we didn't talk about. What does a mentor do? Why would a mentor do it? Things like that. Okay. I love the ones that are like, well, I just wanted to make sure everyone else had a chance before I asked. That's okay. And once you have that YouTube link, that's not really private. So you share that to other people, they're more than welcome to watch it and learn from it, and scores for anybody. Yeah, Sean. That's exactly, I mean, that's kind of the hope. You're going to keep getting it reiterated until you take that leap and really start moving ahead. It's good to hear it again. Yeah, Gina went to a call. She had some call with her people at the library. So Stephanie, the biggest thing I see mentors do, it's not the only thing that they can do, but a lot of times it's just help me make a help me make a business plan. Because the act of creating a business plan, no matter how long or short or detailed or not, it is an outline and a summary of what you have in your head already and what you might be missing. So the mentor will help you format what you already have, and then they'll look at it. And then they'll say, okay, I see gaps here, here, and here, and they'll ask you the questions. It's not a test, they're not grading your work. They're working you through it that says, okay, this is a really great idea. You've got your target customer, but I don't see any competitors here. Oh, I didn't think about who my competitors are. Or I put this as my competitor, and they say, well, what about a business like this? Could they also be a competitor? So the next step is to get with a mentor about formally setting up a relatively structured business plan. And again, it's just a sketch. It's just a blueprint of what you already think you know about your business. Is it going to be an LLC? Is it going to be an S corp? How much money is it going to make? How much money do you hope it's going to make? Are you going to have employees? Maybe I plan on getting employees after 3 years. I plan to make this much the first year and then this much the second year. On the third year, I'm going to leave my job and start working full time. These are all parts of the plan. And that's where the business mentor comes in and says, okay, this makes sense. This makes sense. Have you considered this? And then you start looking at financials, and you get a lot more confident to jump in. Mentors are, I've worked with quite a few of them, and there's no judgments. Also, if you get a mentor and they don't fit you, they're not your cup of tea. There are thousands of mentors in the country. There's like in my chapter up in the Greensboro area, we have 36 mentors or something. And so a lot of the beginning entry of the business, almost everybody is good at doing that. And then what happens is if you go outside of that, like you have an industry specific, then we can co-mentor. So I can call somebody else that's a mentor and say, hey, I know that you did this as a profession. It's not my profession. So we are looking in the business plan to better understand this. Like I've got somebody that's really high up in the clothing industry, and he was in clothing for years. And so when people bring about any kind of clothing or distribution type questions, he's really good about that. That's just an example. The other example is, not everybody fits everyone's personality. And so if you don't fit as a personality, don't just give up. If you really want a business, don't give up. Let them know or go back and request another mentor, and they completely understand. Now, not everybody works well with me. I don't work well with everybody else. It's just, what's your personality? How quickly do you want to get it done? What's your work ethic like? And find somebody that fits. Yes. So will the mentor help us tweak our mission and vision statement if it needs it? But the mission and vision might not be the most important part of your business, and it might, depends on what that business is. But absolutely, if you say, I'm working on this, they're probably going to say why, and then they're going to start asking you questions about what it is and what you think could be better. Do not overthink the business plan. Don't. It seems hard. I remember the first one that I ever made, I was terrified. I didn't know what it was. I've read like 5 books about it, and everyone's like, a mentor can help really settle you down to realize it's really just an essay. It's just a short outline skit. It can be more detailed. But when you first think about it, just think about the outline that describes clearly what your business is and allows you to effectively present that information to others and yourself. Because then you can start, again, you fill in the holes, and you don't know what holes you have until you put it on paper and allowed somebody else to look over it to see what makes sense to you, doesn't make sense to them, or new ideas. Okay. Again, my name, I'm gonna put it in the chat, not that it matters too much. My name is, if you go on to, if you do the score, I do a lot more trainings than I do mentoring, to be completely honest. And then hold on, I'll give you this too. Okay. All right, well, there's no other questions. I'm going to let you guys go. If you want, go on and like the video on YouTube when it comes out. That'd be cool. And, you know, stay up to date on the website itself. Let's see. Stephanie, for your question about financial institutions, so SCORE works with several, and they work with what are they called? Community something community, I think it's community outreach financial institutions or something. Because a lot of the people that apply to SCORE, it's a first business. It's not something that they've done many, many times. And so finding banks can be a little bit different. We do have a funding course, and you may be able to find some at score.org as well. But it's going to, again, a mentor. It's going to come down to what, you know, how much money you're looking for, what you need it for, when you're going to pay it back. Because we talk about online loans, we talk about micro loans, we talk about going to banks, and what banks are looking for. So, and when you say institutions, I think, I know for me, the first thing I always thought about was like a bank. You just go to a bank. There's a lot of other lenders, a lot of other ways to get money. There's banks that, they're not actually called banks, and they only lend, and they're community development, I'm sorry, there it is, community development groups, where they're given grants, either from the government or other places, to help grow the community. And Charlotte SCORE should also have a nice list of development funds where they look a little bit less on your credit score, they look a little bit less on the fact your business is new, and they also, many of them offer support ongoing once your business is open. They want their money back, but they also want to grow the community. They don't want loans to be limited to just the people that already know what they're doing. So there are organizations like that. SCORE has them. Each SCORE is different because the community development fund is based on the community. So like the list I have would be out of Greensboro, Winston-Salem, or High Point, Alamance County, some of them. But each community, in this case, Mecklenburg County area, is going to have their own development fund. And so score.org, find a mentor. Hey, I'm looking for funding ideas. And your mentor should get back to you with the list. Great questions. Thank you for reposting that link for me. I missed some of those. Yep. Anything else? Let's see here. Pull this up. There's my email address in the chat. If you have any other questions going forward, I'm just going to forward you to a mentor or try to answer your question. But ideally, the best way is going to be to go through score.org, and it's super easy. Don't overthink it. It's going to say like, "What's your question?" And just kind of type a little bit about what you're doing. And they're just trying to they're trying to get enough information about where you're at to help determine what available mentors would be a good fit for you first to try out. So that information, that's all you're putting in there. There's going to be one guy or one girl, one person that gets all of them, And they say, okay, based on what you told me, I'm gonna hook you up with this, like if it's real estate, you're in real estate. If you're looking at restaurants, you're gonna find a restaurant person. If it's a salon, they're gonna find someone that's either done a salon or been, whatever industry you're in, they're gonna try to find you the best match, because that's kind of where you're at. Okay, winding down, I'm gonna go ahead and check out. You got my email address, you've got the video. What type of questions should we ask our mentor? Anything you have. And the mentor is probably gonna ask you just as many questions as you ask them if they do a good job. But you're asking your mentor every step of the way, how do I get to where I wanna be, right? So you wanna be open and you wanna be making money. How do I get there? And then they say, okay, make a business plan. So they're gonna figure out where you are, where you wanna be, and then they're gonna help with the gap in between where you are now, what you're missing, and where you wanna be. And so mentors, while we do what's called one and done, sometimes people just have a question. They don't really want help, they just want to answer one question. And sometimes we'll call that a one and done. They just come and they go. But what mentors are really, really strong at is building a relationship with the mentee that understands the business. I want to understand what you're trying to achieve as we develop the plan, even after you get open, understanding more about you so that your relationship with your mentor can just be that much stronger. So you could ask a question whenever you wanted to your mentor. You can just shoot them a question, say, I have this question, and then you can regularly meet to see where are you on this, where are you on that. So it's more of an ongoing relationship from not being a business. So they say for the life of the business, before you open to maybe you want to sell it, they can take you all the way through the sale of your business, whether it be the attorney processes or the taxes for the money, different things like that. Scores here for the life of the business. So hope that helps. All right. Well, there's no more questions. I think I got them all. I'm going to head out. I appreciate you guys showing up today. Had a lot of fun, and I hope wish you the best.